Tomorrow I'll be doing one of my least, let's just say, desirable task at work. That's putting it mildly. It's a type of task and process which I find very, well, for me anyway, quite stressful. So it's been keeping me quite mentally preoccupied, to say it in a certain way. I can't quite keep my mind off it. So I'm more or less, well, I've been trying to not think about it over the whole weekend, but it crops in and out and it takes over my mind from time to time. I was preparing my meal for the rest of the week, making fairly, a batch of food that will last for a week, roughly. And during that preparation period, I had this bizarre, not bizarre, but it's a strange feeling. I've had it before. It just crops up on me. How can I describe it? It's, as a child, when I was really ill, I think I had quite a severe fever. I would, at that stage, at a certain stage, I suppose, hallucinate because of the illness. And I kept saying to my parents that something about a giant or a monster, something like that. I think because at that age I couldn't quite describe what it was. I still can't quite describe it. It's indescribable. It's not exactly, I don't know if you could call it unknowable. It's a feeling. It's one way to see it is, if you're afraid of heights and you're on top of a tall building, that feeling of vertigo, that very raw feeling washing over you. It feels very primal. Or, for example, being inside a gargantuan building, like a hangar, cavernous building, and you feel very, very small in terms of what surrounds you. For people who have that sort of phobia, they probably know what I'm talking about. Or being in a very, very small room, feeling constricted, like you're running out of air. Or being underwater. You get that feeling of a ton of water above you, sort of thing, like not a ton, but a lot of pressure, essentially. Or being, some people might describe it, inside a tall building. You get the feeling of the weight of concrete, metal, and glass just above you. It's that feeling that you get. That's what I feel when I was sick as a child. So it's very hard for me to describe it. And I get that feeling sometimes when I'm facing certain stressful situations, or I've had stressful situations, and my mind sort of compounds it and magnifies it. Yeah, as a child, I saw it as a giant, a monster rising above me. It's a very, as I said, a very raw feeling. Now, way of seeing it is, it's as if it's something looming over me, like a a shadow, an inky void, an abyss, almost engulfing me. Sometimes it does feel like it's engulfing me or overwhelming me. It's cold embrace. I can feel it. Even thinking about it, just trying to describe it, I feel, the cold shivers running down my back. Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple thing, just preparing food, and I can feel that. I can feel it cropping up, looming up from behind me. It sometimes happens when I do the things I like as well, like if I'm trying to write. If I write a lot, I start getting that feeling. It's less about thinking, oh no, I'm going to fail this. That does play a part. But it is something else as well. As I said, it's unknowable. Sometimes it's a different sort of feeling. Imagine being in a car and you're on a slippery slope, or it's icy road, and you're just sliding forward. You can't really control the speed of it. You might be able to control the direction, but you're just sliding forward, and it's just continuously sliding forward. Or you get a feeling of where you're going to end up, and you just can't control it. That's another way of just explaining it, I suppose. It's slightly different from that looming shadow, that sense of dread. It's more about losing control, I suppose. I think that's where part of the fear comes from. It's inevitability. I recently had a dream. Well, it's more of a nightmare. I thought someone was in my house while I was asleep. Someone broke in or somehow climbed in, and they're just standing in the corner of the room with a torchlight. I could almost feel their presence, and I know as well in the back of my mind that's my brain playing up. I couldn't move my body, so sleep paralysis had hold of me, and I wanted to scream out. I could hear myself struggling, and I tried to scream out something. It was just garbled, weird sound. It frightened myself. So yeah, that's very weird. I woke up. I finally got up. I was sweating and things, of course. And that wasn't the first time. I've had that sort of feeling before. I was traveling on my own. I was under sort of a stress. Not stressful, but it was quite, it felt stressful, but not too bad. I was in a hotel by myself and couldn't quite sleep. Foolishly, I don't know, if I'd turned off the light, it would have been better. I mean, the desk lamp, I didn't turn it off. I was in a half asleep, half awake sort of mode, and I was in sleep paralysis mode as well. I tend to get that when I'm under quite a bit of stress. And of course, I felt a presence in the room, the corner of the room. I think I saw, I believed at the time I saw a silhouette of a person in the shadows in the corner. And that was quite frightening to me. But I kept telling myself, that was just my imagination. It helped a bit. I tried to use my logic. Yeah, that was frightening because I was I was traveling. There's no one else on my own. There was another time when I was at home. I felt presence uh, above, not above my head, but behind me while I was asleep. And yes, I was under pressure the day before or during the day or something like that, and that presence said to me, hello. I think it was a female voice, but it was more of a curious voice. And I woke up, I think. So yeah, these occurrences, I had other sleep paralysis time as well when I nap in the afternoon. I thought I'm awake, but really I was still asleep. And I thought I wake up, but I didn't. I'm still asleep. It's quite disturbing and strange and distressing to know that you can't move when you're asleep, and then you're sort of hallucinating things. I like to say that in some ways I've gotten used to it, but the brain works in some strange ways. Despite a part of me saying, logically saying that it's not real, it's all just part of it, but another portion of my mind just feels that flight or fight type, emotion or deep-seated fear. It's very primal. But in some ways, when I get up, I understand that and I try to move along. Just keep moving forward instead of trying to, try to minimize it maybe. I guess the only way to minimize it is how to deal with waking life, certain portions of waking life. How things in the waking life can affect the sleeping or dreaming part of my life. There's some things that I suppose is uncontrollable. Anyway, so far I haven't really done much of an update on these audio logs or whatever they are. I haven't really had much to say. Just trying to figure out what else is there. I guess I'll just keep documenting and I suppose in some ways complain about these sort of things. I'll continue this next time. Thanks.